before I set up Diva, I worked in the corporate world of cosmetics, particularly with Revlon, and I spent 10 years with Revlon. I started off when I was 19 in the manufacturing facility in Bournemouth, my local town, and then after about 5 years, they offered me the opportunity to come up to London and work in the marketing department. So then I came up to London, worked in the marketing department, and expanded my knowledge of the world of cosmetics from a financial, from a retail point of view, and of course from marketing. Well, I'd always wanted to work for myself, and ever since I was 4 years old, actually, I started off selling chocolates when I was about 4 years old and making profit on the street, much to my father's delight, because he'd always worked for himself. And I set up an English school when I was 18. So I'd always had this yearning to work for myself, and the dilemma I had after Revlon was how was I going to convert all this experience and make my own business? I was very realistic. I didn't think there was room in the marketplace for a brand of cosmetics called Emma Wimhurst, like Helena Rubinstein or Estee Lauder. So I spent quite a while thinking, how am I going to get this to work? And then I left Revlon in London, wanted to move back to Dorset, and I had a lot of time because I ended up in a job that I didn't really enjoy. And instead of working from 6 in the morning till 6 at night or 8 at night, I was suddenly going in at 9 and finishing at 5. And I had this thing called time. And what time gave me was this opportunity to think. And the Spice Girls hit the music scene, and that was the beginning of that. I suddenly thought, there are teenage girls out there that want to look like the Spice Girls. How do they do it? And are those girls really wanting to buy makeup in Boots, which was quite a traditional store at the time, or Superdrug, where you could buy bleach in one aisle and then makeup in the other? No, girls have always been in this gang culture. They want to go out, they want to shop with their mates, and they want to go into the places of Topshop and New Look and buy fashion items. And if makeup was in there, then maybe there would be a synergy that would work. And that was my plan. Oh, huge problem, because it was a big problem to get my product into shops first, because I had to convince them that they needed them. So, of course, it was a huge sales job, so I had to not only demonstrate that I really understood the world of cosmetics, I really understood the retail environment, but also I understood how to make cosmetics and get them to them on time and at the right price. So I then had to identify who was the exact customer that was right for what I wanted to do, and it happened to be New Look. So then I spent all of my efforts and focusing on that, and I made sure I got a meeting. I think you need to become an expert in that product, but have a very broad knowledge. So if you are targeting, let's say, one of the big supermarkets, then you need to become an expert in that supermarket. You need to know exactly their footfall, their customers, the type of profiling they are, the other products that are in there, their pricing policy, across the board. You need to understand what it looks like when you walk into store. You need to visualize where you want your product to be. You need to be a huge, huge font of knowledge with regards to your competitors in your particular sector, their pricing, their new product development, and then you've also got to be an expert in the product that you are delivering and knowing the full vertical chain of command, I suppose, from where it's going to be made, but who's ultimately going to buy it. So I think you have to become an expert. I was about 6 months pregnant with my second child, and that sort of really prompted me to sell, because I'd had this moment earlier on when I ran Diva. My first son was born about the same time as Diva was set up, and he was sent off to nursery for a considerable amount of his early life. And I'd always vowed that if I ever were to have more children, I would sell the business and become a stay-at-home mum. So when I fell pregnant with my second son, it took 5 years, but only because I changed husbands in the middle of all of that, and there's a whole complications to that. But it took 5 years, and I fell pregnant. I remembered what I'd said to myself, which is I was going to sell my business and concentrate on my baby. Realised very quickly afterwards that that was so not me, and that actually I really love working, and so I've actually since then managed to combine the two. The 7 business disciplines, after I'd sold Diva, during the time of running Diva, very few people came up and said, why is your business so successful? Because quite frankly, I just concentrated on running my business. But after I'd sold it, people would say, that was really successful, that business. And I'd think, yeah, I suppose it was really. I'd never really reviewed it, because when you run your business, you're running it. And people would say, well, why? Why is your business so successful and others are not? Or what have you done differently? And slowly but surely I used to say, well, I focus on these 7 areas, and these 7 areas came through, and that's where my business disciplines came from. And I call them disciplines, unlike steps and rules and guidelines and habits, because, well, not habits, because they need to become intrinsically part of who you are. And there's no point sitting in your office and think, today's personnel day, I must read up what I need to do and do it. You need to be living, breathing, and working those disciplines. They need to become part of you. So you actually just do them. And I think I employed all 7 of them. One I didn't do very well, I hasten to add, and that was the last one, which is personal development. I didn't really spend enough time on getting the ideal work-life balance, but hey, absolutely, and it's what motivates me. Absolutely, because, you know, however successful my business may have been, I made huge mistakes along the way. And if somebody can read my book or listen to me or talk to me and say, well, what did you do here? Well, okay, this is what I did. But actually, in hindsight, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done it this way, and maybe that way may work better for you. I think it's really important. It's vital, actually, to the future of any business success. What attracted me to speak at the EBA is I love what I do. So I have and I don't think you should do anything unless you love it. And I realised I should have been an actress, right? So when I was about 17, I should have decided that I was going to get on the stage. But my father, in his typical way, said, oh, you need to get a qualification first. And so I thought, you're right. So after I'd done my business, I still loved the bits of I loved running my business, but I loved getting in front of those clients and presenting and saying about this is my product. And actually, they used to sign the order in the end to shut me up because I used to just get so carried away. So I realised that when I had sold my business, what did I enjoy doing most? And that was talking, presenting, empowering others to actually succeed. So working with the EBA is a joint venture for me because I absolutely love sharing my story. I love talking to people, enabling them to do better, and then to get involved in the training side of EBA just fulfills me greatly. And I believe that I'll only do what I do because I enjoy it and I love what I do. At the EBA, first of all, on the particular first open days, if you like, I talk about my story and about my disciplines and tie those into the EBA philosophy is that there are some very sexy areas of business, such as marketing and sales, which everybody thinks they want to do. Nobody really wants to get back into the detail. My philosophy is that you need to do the detail and you need to get the fundamentals right in your business to be able to do the sexy things correctly. So my part of the EBA is bringing those basic fundamentals back to your business. I also train, and my specific area of interest and where I feel passionate about is customers. I do a lot of work on the customer, attracting the right customer, retaining them, motivating them to work for you, and the impact of getting the right customer first time can have on your business. Oh, I've got lots of different projects that I've got going on. I love speaking, so I'm speaking at lots of events, particularly aiming at the sort of fledgling business stage. I seem to resonate a lot with women who are trying to set up businesses and balance their life. And ultimately, I'm doing what I can to do to help other business owners out there. They can contact me through the EBA, or they can look at my website, which is www.emmawimhurst.co.uk.